Well, guys, we're trying to make a decision here as to make a product or buy a product. Remember, we already are buying this product from an outside supplier. And what we're trying to determine is to whether or not we should make it ourselves. So by just looking at the numbers, let's just take a look at this. We need to identify what costs are relevant related to making this decision. And in this case, what costs are avoidable then? What part of direct labor, direct materials, variable overhead, and are in fact fixed or variable? Which ones are avoidable? And so, if you'll look here, we have an estimated production cost on this particular product, but they do take notice now that $4 of this fixed overhead is going to be a manager's new manager's salary, and that new manager's salary would probably go into overhead. And so you probably wouldn't hire the new manager. You wouldn't get the new manager unless you were going to actually make these 18,000 product parts or buy them elsewhere. If you're buying them elsewhere, you wouldn't need the manager. That's the whole point. So anyway, so what I did was I kind of put you got two columns here, and you'll notice that the estimated production cost for the variable costs, the 23, the 10, and the 5, they're all the same. Those are all avoidable if you don't make the product. But then you notice that the fixed overhead then is $4 of it is avoidable because you wouldn't hire the new manager without it, all right, without making these parts. And so you come over here and you kind of take this in half then, put it over here. So that means that you would avoid a $42 cost then if you were to not make the product. So if you come over here, you see that you're already buying the product for $41 and you are avoiding cost of $42 by not making the product. Now, I will tell you that these two numbers are very, very close. So you can almost say it's an indifferent decision. Okay. And so, from a quantitative standpoint, Redbud is indifferent about the decision that it incurs out of pocket expenses. I will tell you that some of the problems that you'll run into in Connect, these two numbers may be the same or maybe just a slight difference in them. But what they're trying to do is trying to get you to see very that sometimes the numbers will be indifferent as to what decision to make. So you have to then apply those qualitative decision making to determine whether or not you're going to, um, you know, make this product instead of buying it, right? So that's the decision you're trying to make. So of course the first hurdle, remember the problem gave us this was, do we have the capacity for that? Yes, right. But here's the second thing: do we have a better quality, a better ability to make a better part that'll last longer, that'll increase maybe the life of the larger product that may be making, that this part will actually go into? In other words, do we have quality control standards that are higher? So if we do have those things, that this $1 difference could not be much of a difference, right? But let's just say that this supplier that we're getting it from, let's say they're overseas, right? And so it might take 3 months to get these parts in. So, the lag time in the order process and the availability of the parts may be limited. So we're paying an extra dollar here to make them ourselves. Oh yeah, we do that in a minute if we could get our parts ready a lot faster than get them to here. So that means if we have to buy parts and tie up money for 3 months for those parts to be shipped over to us, then we're not tying up that cash flow, guys, if we make them ourselves. So that's just something to consider, to be able to make more of them when they're needed, and to get them quickly. It could be a huge time management issue related to supply chain. So there are so many other qualitative factors associated with this, but from an accountant's perspective, it's kind of an indifferent sort of result, if you will. But notice here under factors that you should consider, look, improved quality and availability are two biggies, right? And that's huge as to whether or not you're going to make it yourself. Can you make it better, or can you get it faster and make it better? So if you can do those two things, then this is an indifferent amount of money here. We might go ahead and make them ourselves. So remember, this is a subtitle, guys, in the chapter about a make or buy decision. Now, another subtitle in the chapter was 1620, and this is a product mix decision. Now, I want y'all to realize that this is when you have a situation where your capacity is limited. For example, you might have X number of machines, and those machines can run X amount of hours, and you're kind of limited by how many hours those machines can run. But you can make a lot of different product with those machines, different types of product. So in this problem, we've got 3 potential products that we could be making with the capacity that we have. So let's determine which products would be the best ones to make the decision in order to make. Okay, so we can make more contribution to both our expenses and our operating income. So let's look at these. Now they give us these numbers here that are in green that I'm kind of pointing to right now. They give us a selling price and they give us the variable cost on 3 products, X, Y, and Z. And what I've simply done here is come up with a contribution margin per unit. So each one of these products has its own contribution margin that it'll provide for us if we make this product. Okay, but if you break this contribution margin per unit down into a contribution margin per machine hour, then you might be able to come up with a little bit of a closer idea as to what product you should make. Now, what I've done here is I've taken the machine hours that it takes to make each one of these products. Now, if you take 3 machine hours, right, to make products X, go ahead and pause this and look at these numbers. It takes 2 hours to make product Y, and it takes 1 hour to make product Z. So if we take this 3 hours and we multiply it into 45, we get 15. So that means that product X, if we make it, it's going to contribute, right, an amount per machine hour of $15. And product Y with 60 divided by 2 is going to contribute $30 contribution per machine hour. And then, of course, Z calculates into $8. So right here, these green amounts here are in green. Those are the monthly demand amounts that they've given us for each one of these products. And if you multiply that times the amount of machine hours that it takes to make each one of these units, then you're going to get a total machine hours required, right, to meet demand. Now this is to meet demand, okay? So which one of these do we need to choose? Right? We have a limited number of 1,800 machine hours, okay, and we've got more machine hours required to make these 3 products. So what we want to do is when we go first here to product Y, because it has the most contribution margin per machine hour. And let's make the demand, let's meet demand for product Y, because we can sell these. There is the demand already for this product, and we know we can sell these, and we can get that higher contribution when we do. So we take the 600, machine hours, and you multiply that times the $30, you're going to come up with 18,000. So that is an amount of the highest contribution from product Y. Now that takes care of product Y, but we do have some more machine hours. We have 1,200 more machine hours. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose product X here for that because it has a higher contribution per machine hour than product Z does. So the next product we're going to pick is product X, and we're going to go ahead and meet at least a good bit of that demand because we have 1,200 machine hours left. We're not going to meet all the demand, but we're going to meet a lot of it. So we're going to go ahead and produce 1,200 machine hours of product X. And if we take $15 times 1,200, we get another 18,000. So that is the maximum amount of contribution that you can come up with, right, by deciding which product to make in order to give the most contribution toward your operating income. Now you'll see down here, note that only 1,800 hours were available. Given the current demand for each of the other products, product Z will not be included in the product mix. So we would make product Y and we would make product X, but we would not make product Z. Now I have students who get a little bit confused by this problem, but once they work it a couple times, guys, and connect, I mean, it's kind of a breeze and it's actually kind of fun. Kind of try to kind of guess, well, which product do you think maybe might work here? So this is an interesting product mix problem, and there's a bunch of algorithmic problems for you to go through and try to figure these out. You kind of work several of these so you'll know how to do it on the test.